Trump's on tour. Donald and Melania, plus Ivanka, are greeted by the Saudi king as they land in Riyadh for his crucial first test abroad. President Donald Trump has landed in Saudi Arabia as he begins his first foreign tour since taking office. He touched down in the Middle East this morning, hours after tweeting about his excitement for his first big foreign trip. Trump flew to the capital Riyadh overnight on Air Force One, becoming the only president to make Saudi Arabia, or any majority Muslim country, his first stop overseas as president. His arrival following a 6,700-mile flight was met with the pomp usually reserved for the likes of a papal welcome in South America. The president got the red carpet treatment literally, and some airport workers took off their shoes before manicuring it with brooms in 97-degree heat. There were 30 US flags at the ready, a tiny fraction of the thousands that line streets and highways between the airport and the city center. A 90-person Royal Saudi Air Force's honor guard practiced rifle drills and then stood at attention while Trump and his kingly escort ambled toward the terminal. He heard an 8-bugle fanfare, watched a 7-jet fly over trailing red, white and blue smoke, and cannon fire. Lots of cannon fire, which didn't cease until Trump and King Salman were safely inside. Inside the terminal, the fragrant smell of out filled the air as workers burned the aromatic wood in charcoal lamps. Wafting Saudi out scents also permeate the air in the souks marketplaces that snake through the oldest part of town. Just steps away is Adira, known to locals as Chop Chop Square because of periodic public beheadings. Trump will face questions over the weekend about the wisdom of establishing partnerships with a government known for human rights violations and for its medieval treatment of women. Females cannot drive cars in the kingdom, and their every move, from travel to shopping, is overseen by male family members. On Saturday, the only females seen among the welcome retinue were a pair of small girls presenting flowers and an African American woman, who turned out to be a US Secret Service agent. Melania and Ivanka Trump seemed determined to make a statement by deplaning without head coverings, a rare sight among women in Riyadh whose main choices are the hijab and the niqab. Still, the First Lady stayed a half-dozen steps behind King Salman and her politician husband, escorted by a lone US Marine in full dress uniform. After a welcome ceremony inside the royal terminal, Trump and Salman sat together in the Beast, the White House's armored SUV that travels in the belly of Air Force One. The first stop was the glitzy Ritz-Carlton, whose exterior is being lit up at night with giant projected images of the American flag. Trump's first overseas speech is expected to frame the global fight against ISIS and other Islamist terror groups as a battle between good and evil, but early drafts suggest he will not use the phrase radical Islamic terrorism. He will also call on leaders in the Middle East to drive out terrorists from your places of worship. Signs of American caution are everywhere as the president who once campaigned on the strength of excluding Muslims from the US ventured into the nation whose king partners in construction with the Bin Laden group. US military snipers stood guard on nearby jetways. A duplicate Air Force One 747 jet stood by, lest Trump's schedule should be waylaid by engine trouble. Wearing a dark suit and a bright blue tie, the president descended stairs from his exclusive plane with First Lady Melania Trump, after staff including his daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner arm in arm exited from the rear of the aircraft. Trump bantered with the king about the Cleveland Clinic, which a previous Saudi monarch chose for cardiac surgery in the 1970s. The American president began his improbable rise to power descending an escalator, arriving at the lobby of his Trump Tower skyscraper with no idea where he would be 22 months later. On Saturday he ascended a different escalator leading from the airport tarmac to the king's sumptuous royal terminal, waiting for his foreign policy adventures to begin. His first gesture to the press, the hated dishonest media, was a trademark thumbs up as the escalator climbed. The gesture is regarded in much of the Arab world as a vulgar sexual insult, although many in Saudi Arabia dispute that. The president's stop in Saudi Arabia kicks off an ambitious international debut. He will travel next to Israel, have an audience with Pope Francis at the Vatican, and meet with allies at a NATO summit in Brussels and the group of 7 wealthy nations in Sicily. For a president who campaigned on an America First platform, the trip is a crucial moment for US allies to size up his commitment to decades-long partnerships. President Trump understands that America First does not mean America alone, said H.R. McMaster, Trump's national security advisor. Prioritizing American interests means strengthening alliances and partnerships that help us extend our influence and improve the security of the American people. His critics expect a rocky week ahead for the China shop bull Americans elected in November.